If you are on the market looking for a military style Casio G-Shock watch, you probably stumble upon one of this. This is the HDC-700, a 10-bar ana-digi military style Casio watch that look like a G-Shock. Even the colors is exactly similar as the currently released W5610SU military style Casio G-Shock watch as well. And the shape and design kinda similar to the GA800 or the GA700 with this rugged design and the massive size. Keep in mind the size, I'll add down here, but despite looking quite big, it is almost just the same to the square G-Shock watch or closely similar to the GA800 series G-Shock, which is not as big. I picked this one up for around 35 bucks, but there's a store discount locally, so I only paid around 25 bucks, and that is incredibly cheap for a Casio watch that look like a G-Shock. So it's like Casio is trying to tell us, hey, we know not everyone can afford our G-Shock series, so here is something that looks the same but cheaper. This is again, guys, a great quality 25 bucks watch from a respectable brand, not some knockoff or god forbid counterfeit fake watches at all. So you don't have to pay extra to get great stuff today. So thank you, Casio, for that. Speaking of quality, let's see what you're getting and what you are missing if you purchase one of these. First, I'm going to start with the good things. Being an ana-digi, it has a luminous indices, including the hands as well, which is in skeleton, and it has a matching color to the overall case and watch band, and that is good. And then some little details is that a texture watch face with 3D indices as well around there, and minimal index marker in this case came in orange next to the 3D indices, and that is really cool, especially if you picked up this colorway. There are other color variations, so this is just the one in brown. Next is the digital portion down here, which will provide all of the basic functions, like right now it is showing me date. You could swap that to Telememo, basically phone number, and then you have world time. And then you have 3 alarm with snooze and 1 signal, and then you have a countdown timer to 24-hour range, and then you also have a stopwatch as well to 1/100 seconds precisions, and back to home time, or basically in this case hand setting. If you want to set the hour and the minute hands to match with the digital time, you could do that as well just by pressing the adjust button. There you go. Speaking of the digital display, even though it is smaller, it still has the same quality as those on the Casio G-Shock watches, which means they are great. Next is being an analog watch at the same time. Of course, you're gonna need an LED light. Press this front button in plastic once to turn on the amber orange LED lights, which will glow from 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock positions. And what's so good about this watch is that Casio add a layer underneath the indices there, and that allow the LED light to flow through and creates the effects such as it glows from all directions, and that is something that I've never seen on a Casio G-Shock watch before, and that is really simple idea but very brilliant. Next is the 18mm resin strap with a rugged design texture on top. Look at how cool this thing is. It fits really well with the original military style. It is 18mm, which means looking for parts is a lot easier, and it is thick, comfortable with some texture underneath for grip, and they are pretty easy to be removed as well. Speaking of which, this is the back plate, and it has a brush finish, very light brush finish, and the overall watch is only made in China, so it's probably why it is cheap. And now, speaking of which, what is the trade-off? First thing is the watch buckle that came in plastic with China sign at the bottom, and I have to say I didn't feel secure at all with one of these, but I'm sure you could just break this up and swap this to metal parts instead, and then you are good to go. And that's is the crystal at the front, which is made out of plastic, which is totally different from the G-Shocks, which means they are easily scratched, and indeed they are so easy to get scratched on. And then you have an entire side guard on the side. It looked like a button guard that came in black colorway, but actually all of these black parts around here is the casing itself. This watch didn't have an external bezel like one of these, and also this is the casing that went all the way to the movement inside. And speaking of which, there are no rubber cushion placed at the back, at the front, or even on the sides, meaning if you subjected this watch to any form of impact from the sides from any angle at all all of the shocks will be absorbed all the way into the movement inside, and that could ruin it over time. And next is this bezel. You probably think here now, wait, if these aren't the bezel, this is probably the bezel, right? Well, it is actually the bezel, but if you look closely, there aren't any screw that is locking it, because there's really nothing that holding it. Check this out. This is the truth that really surprised me. 3, 2, 1. There you go. I could just remove this bezel just like that. If you look at the casing, this is the overall watch case with the plastic glass at the front. The button over here all the way to the button guard are the same component. And notice that there are only 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons. This one over here aren't a button at all. This is just for aesthetics to create the military ruggedness appearance on it. And this bezel, unlike a resin bezel like those on the G-Shock, check this out. This one is flexible, meaning it could absorb some shocks, you know, probably last longer. But this one is plastic. I cannot bend this at all. If I do, I'll probably break this. So that's one thing. And second thing is that it's only held with a double-sided tape or a glue on the sides, meaning if you wear this over time, at one point it will comes out just like that without you noticing, and that will be quite embarrassing. So if you own one of this, fix this part, glue it on, or use something stronger, and then plug it back in, and then it should be secure. And I would advise you to change this watch band keeper, and I would advise you to change this watch buckle as well. And then sure, this watch could last you a quite long time. Let me take off my square G-Shock watch out, and there you go. The bezel already falls down. There's two ways to view this, you know, it is weak or it is good, in a way that you could always swap the bezel if you need to anytime you like. There you go. Done. Anyway guys, the watch is still pretty good. It works fine. It tells time like most Casio watch or any G-Shock watch. For 25 bucks, I really don't have to complain. But then again, I need to remind you, you need to do some modifications as I already suggested before. And again, even though the battery could last you all the way to 10 years, I don't think the watch could, especially if you just wear it as it is.